Welcome to our Sunday specials. A middle-aged blind mechanic in Abuja, Muritala Shuaibu, has stood out among neighbors and workmates through his struggles daily to make a living. TVC News Jockey Adisa went in search of the man who, rather than resort to begging for alms, uses his innate abilities to feed himself and his family.
This video, posted by one of his customers, indeed went viral. TVC News traced the blind mechanic to his abode in Suleja in Niger State. The road to the house is bumpy and the journey tortuous. Life indeed seems unfair to 55-year-old Muritala Shuaibu. Muritala Shuaibu welcomes me to his friend's house, whom he has stayed with over the last 9 years. He became blind at a tender age and as an apprentice at a mechanic workshop. Since then, it's been difficult for him, but he tells me his determination not to give up or become a burden to anyone keeps him going. In an emotion-laden voice, he tells me his story. Trouble with his eyes began in early 1970s, and in 1974, he was operated upon, but he tells me the condition of the eyes worsened after he went under the knife. This put paid to his ambition to go to school, and he had to enroll as a mechanic apprentice. For 4 years from 1987, Muritala Shuaibu battled with his eyesight, but by 1991, both eyes went completely blind.
I was driving, I go to police station and buy fuel. On my way coming back, I was 140 in the car when I was speeding. So the two eyes just go off. And I tried to off the car, tried to stop the car. Then when I stopped, I was still there more than 2 to 3 hours because there's no phone, there's nothing for me to communicate with anybody.
The father of two says coping with life as a physically challenged has been most difficult. He tells me his wife and his 2 children are in Kano, while he is in Abuja trying to eke a living. Muritala Shuaibu is the breadwinner of his home, as his wife and children depend on him for their survival.
My wife does not do anything. She doesn't do anything because there's no money for it. We wanted to start business, but they are not assisting. There's no money. I'm no young mother, your girl against which I can get it was the time will reach when I will start the job. So by then, so if I can get something to do, other things to do, so I will be very happy for that. If you got my car, help me with, assist me with, maybe if with this money or any other thing to make my life to continue.
He says the recent increase in the pump price of petrol has affected his daily earnings, as some car owners have parked their vehicles because they couldn't afford to fuel them. He tells me there are weeks he won't even make any money, much less be able to send something to his family in Kano State.
Since they increased this month, the commodity subsidy of this fuel. So now, sometimes, okay, we used to go work. Now when you go, you stay for morning till night when there's no work. You go, you come back without work, you stay. Sometimes you get one, you do. Sometimes you do not even get.
In the last 9 years, he has been squatting with his friend of almost 30 years, first in Kubwa and now in Suleja, Niger State. Jibril Mohammed was Muritala Shuaibu's co-apprentice way back in 1990. Also from Edo State, Jibril and his wife Aisha have been a source of encouragement and support to Muritala Shuaibu.
We eat, he eats. We know it, he know it. That's how we are saying continue our journey. I'm going. If not back, I cry, we cry back together. If not motor, enter motor together. If I travel, we make arrangement that now you will carry this man to shop today. That is how we see they do it up to now.
The morning like this, around 4, he will wake us for prayer. We go pray together. He go teach children how to read cartoon. I say, if myself I go ask, I say, how Gamori, you know they see better. You know, see what they write for Quran. Be this, he said to, and God, even this morning, he did it.
Jibril provides a shoulder for Muritala Shuaibu to lean on, but says his friend needs much more assistance.
I know say this is how it will be, except God. If there is any assistance to him, we are seeing waiting to God go provide, who go assist him.
If God want really walk over her, I want to look for a priest for her. I even tell her, say to, if things getting better, he will bring your wife. Now my namesake, he will bring the woman come down to Abuja. If not to rent apartment, I even tell her, I say, oh, Gamuri, no leave me, oh, no leave me, oh. So that you will rent a house, now we go there together. So if they can see a place for town, give her a place, a land there, when he can be able to do the mechanic way. There is boys in shop now, where they say they still they assist him too.
Like Jubril, Marcus Dallop is also a mechanic. He speaks so beautifully of the talent in Muritala and how he detects faults in vehicles.
He's talented. At least workshop is the best thing. Then he can be a teacher, that he can be a director, that he can direct people of what to do if customers they are in the shop. At least if he's not seen, but he has experience. So if a customer bring a car, he can diagnose the car with his experience and tell the boys that this is what they will do, and he will be making it, and he will never go out to beg in any time or in old age.
From here in Madala Suleja, we are heading now to Tugamaji, where Muritala Abdullah Shuaibu works as a mechanic. Join us. At the workshop, Muritala changes to his uniform and in no time settles down to work. This car was already waiting for him, and he wastes no time attending to it. He jacks up the car, removes the tire, and loosens the shaft to attend to the fault. This is the everyday life of Muritala Shuaibu. He says even if his sight is lost, his brain is intact.
To remove the tire and loosen this brake disc, it's not total 15 minutes. So when I come to lose, before I lose, I will use my hand to touch the bolt in the place for me to know the type of spanner that will hold that bolt. Then I'll now put my hand inside the tools. So I will use my hand to check the tools to know the spanner and number of the spanner.
Some of Muritala Shuaibu's customers say they marvel at the way he handles their cars.
The past 3 or 4 years they've been handling this car and I don't have issue. So I think it's the only thing. I don't know how he's able to understand all the parts of the car and keep on working. Somebody who is not seen and you see him walking in a car. So I think that's God's at work.
Adekunle show that passes by this mechanic workshop on a daily basis, and he normally stops to watch how Muritala carries out his tasks.
I was passing by and I saw this man. I said, I cannot see. But I saw the man repair the vehicle every day. That's why I saw people, they say, let me see the man to repair the vehicle. But luckily, I see the man carry spanner by himself, loose tire by himself. Yeah.
As TVC News departs the mechanic workshop, I offered a little financial assistance to my mechanic friend, and is full of gratitude. His prayer is that well-meaning Nigerians or the authorities will come to his aid and provide the needed succor that will make his life more meaningful. This visit by TVC News excites Muritala Shuaibu and his friends. These people have become his family members in Abuja, and their hope and expectation is that government or individuals will be moved by his plight and come readily with any form of assistance. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Suleja, Niger State.
A lot of skill at play there with Muritala. Indeed, there is ability in disability, and a lot of support is also needed to help him care for his family. Now to another Sunday special. Idanre, an ancient city in Ondo, is set upon hills located on hundreds of hectares, surrounded by beautiful vegetation, high hills, ancient settlements, among other attractive scenes. In this Sunday special, correspondent Ayodeji Muradio takes a look at the natural endowment that is yet to be fully tapped to become a real money-spinning venture.
Idanre, a legendary city situated on the rock, is a land of honor where youths make headlines as nature's freeze for the trees of tourists. From sunrise to sunset, Idanre smolders in the radiance of its smoking hills, ushering visitors into a refreshing land of ravishing magnificence. In words and in deeds, Idanre dazzles, escapulating its cultural, economic and entertaining potential. It is a community in Ondo State, southwest Nigeria, which is about 20 minutes drive from the state capital, Akure. Historically, the people of Idanre lived on the east before moving down to their present location at the foot more than 100 years ago. High Chief Charles Akinde Dioshori of Idanre Kingdom and an erudite scholar explained what led to the migration of the people from the E-top.
We were led there by Olofin, the brother to Oduduwa. That's what the history told us. And Olofin didn't reach Okedore, but Olofin stopped at Utaja, where he died. And he died at Utaja, and the son of Olofin, who is Agbogun, led us from Utaja to Okedore, which we call Ufeke. Because we came from Ife, so we call it Ufe Oke. What led us to Okedore is because of the property of Ife, which Olofin brought with him. We were told that Oramiyan, who founded Benin, came with Olofin to Utaja.
From any angle in Idanre, one can see the alluring eats and virtually every activity in the town revolves around this collection of hills. Climbing the hills is not a journey for the faint-hearted. It requires strength, resilience, and stamina. Walking to the top of the hills is no doubt the toughest part of the journey. To get to the top, tourists will have to climb 682 steps with 5 resting points along the route where people can take some rest.
And this is the second resting point. We're still going to climb more, and we still have 3 more resting points before we get to the pinnacle, to the top of Idanre Hills. I'm already tired, but I'll get there.
So at these very points, we are done.
Sister, you're not going again.
You don't finish a story in a day.
A tourist is directed by a tour guide who is conversant with the monuments on the hills. Idanre Hills are full of many attractions which make your visit memorable and delightful.
Yo, bro, are we done? We still have 22 more.
We came across some stories from different higher institutions who came to catch fun. The tour guide took us around some historical monuments, like the first primary school in the town, the courts, ancient palace, prison, Estel Beji, and the Aron River. The first primary school was built in 1896, and the building is still standing for everybody to see. The first seekers played in the Aron River.
I feel like swimming. I better come back here.
One of the tourists we came across on the hills is the student researcher Eniawe Deborah, a student of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, said she's delighted to be here.
I'm here on a research for my school, a personal research project for my school. So I'm researching on Idanre Hills, the historical facts about Idanre Hills. So I am working on this trip, on this adventure, to have more knowledge.
She wants government to make this monument more attractive for tourists.
to attract them if they make this a very, very nice tourist site. Like the resting place that we saw at the final lap of the staircase, the resting place is dilapidated, and even if foreign tourists come, they won't even be intrigued to stay back. Do you understand? So I feel like the government and everybody has to be all hands on deck.
A tourist who came in company of his colleagues could not hide his feeling.
Yeah, I actually feel excited, because being here is fun. After so many weeks of stress of exam.
Already, Idanre has been listed as one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Festivals like Mari, which is now rested, and Kitewa have been organized to make Idanre more popular. Successive governments, including the current administration in the state, have not really turned Idanre to a delightful tourist destination as expected. The tour guide believes that more is still needed to be done in this regard.
This environment now, in terms of infrastructure, there's supposed to be a bowl to electrify the environment and a good road network. And the government and the community that happen to be one of the stakeholder and the peer level of the tourism, they can actually come together to make a provision for lift or cable car that can make people to be having access to the top easily.
The state government is aware of the challenges and willing to make Idanre and other tourist centers attractive for tourists. The State Commissioner for Information speaks more on government's plan.
There are a lot of things in the works that I know for Idanre. For example, the Commissioner has proposed the construction of cable cars to pick people from one end to another between the hills. Araromi seaside development. There's an ongoing collaboration. The MOU has been signed. So much has been done. I think probably up to 70 or 80% with La Campagne Tropicana to develop a resort in Araromi seaside.
Oshori of Idanre wants the government to define its plan for Idanre Hills.
Well, if we want to develop Idanre as a water tourist something, what recognized tourist something, it cannot be developed at the same time as a World Heritage Site, because for a World Heritage there are so many things we have to preserve. For tourism, you either build a hotel or build a swimming pool or something, which is a destruction of natural habitat of the animals and so on.
This is nature at its best, and the state government needs to brace up and turn this place to a money-making venture to compete with other tourist centers across the globe. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Idanre.
Idanre Hills, real cultural monument able to serve as alternative means of revenue generation. Idanre to the world, Nigeria to the world. Well, that's it tonight on TVC News at 10, which featured our Sunday specials. Thank you very much for spending your evening